A dreadful week for Liverpool, rounded off with a 1-0 defeat at home to Crystal Palace. Hey guys, welcome to the channel, welcome to another video. Yes, today's video is going to centre around Liverpool. We have to talk about this. I didn't do a match reaction yesterday, I didn't have time to do one. So I kind of tied it in a little bit. We're talking about the Premier League title race this morning. Now it is time to really focus on Liverpool. It is time to talk about Liverpool's disastrous week that was. With obviously drawing to Manchester United at the beginning of it, losing to Atalanta in the Europa League midweek, and then rounding it all off with a 1-0 defeat at the hands of Crystal Palace on Sunday at home at Anfield. An absolute car crash of a week as far as what Liverpool are concerned, and it's left many fans, whether you support Liverpool or whether you're rivals, thinking that Liverpool's season is over and is going to fizzle out very underwhelmingly, especially considering that there was a lot on the table for Liverpool to take just a few short weeks ago. Now it only seems that a Carabao Cup is what is going to see Jurgen Klopp into the sunset of his Liverpool career. We're going to be talking about Klopp's final season. We're going to be talking about the past few weeks and, of course, the game that was yesterday. But before we get into all of that, I would like to remind you, please like the video and also subscribe if you're new. Both things are always incredibly greatly appreciated. Get involved in the comment section as well. Let me know your thoughts, your comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it. That'll make for great, interesting reading, I'm sure, down below. Please do get involved down there. But without further ado, let's get on with talking about Liverpool. Let's get on with talking about Liverpool, the season that has been, the season that will be, and everything else in between. Look, yesterday, like I said, I didn't upload and then have time to upload, but yesterday was a dreadful display again. When you lose heavily or when you've had a bad week like what we have, you need to respond perfectly, and we didn't. When you lose humiliatingly in the Europa League in the quarterfinals, the first leg, to Atalanta, a team that we should be beating, you need to respond perfectly in the league, because therefore you only pretty much have, with the way that things are set up, this is the only thing we have left to play for. We've got a heavy 1 foot out of the Europa League already. We are very unlikely to bounce back in Italy next week, or later on this week, should I say now. We are very unlikely to bounce back in a fashion that is going to see us perform some sort of European miracle again and beat Atalanta by at least 4-0 at least, on the day, on Italian soil, which we're never really good at doing anyway, and previous European history tells us that under Jurgen Klopp. So this is pretty much all we've got to fight for left. We're already out the FA Cup at the hands of Manchester United. We drew to United last week. We then lose to Atalanta pretty heavily and humiliatingly. This needed to be perfect, and it was anything but perfect. Because once again, the first half was absolutely dreadful. The first half was extremely poor. It was poor defending. It was not taking our chances. And the second half was better. But the only way to go from that first half performance was to be better. And yet, we were still pretty poor. We still couldn't take our chances. And if it hadn't been for some last-ditch defending, maybe some even poor decisions on the part of the Crystal Palace players, it could have been worse for us. We were that close to conceding a second if it hadn't been for Andy Robertson's recovery. So, again, I don't know what has happened to us these past few weeks, but we don't seem to... Our defence seems to have completely fallen apart. We seem to be just hoping that they miss their chances, and so we're in a good position to counter-attack. But even when we do counter-attack, our attack is so indecisive and so blunt, we're not clinical enough anymore. Teams don't fear us attacking. It used to be that we would control the lion's share of possession and we would attack, and we would normally concede a goal on the break, and it would be the opposition that were clinical on the break. Now, teams, we haven't played well for a few weeks. I'd say the last time we actually did perform well was against Manchester City. That was the last game I remember as being pretty much perfect in. And now it's like, past few weeks, past few games, we've come up against teams and, alright, we got past the likes of, Brighton and Sheffield United, which we were expected to. But we weren't great in those games. We weren't perfect. I'd say we were better in the Brighton game, even though the scoreline was 2-1 and the 3-1 scoreline for Sheffield United. I'd say we were better in the Brighton game than we were in the Sheffield United game, but we haven't exactly been perfect. When you're in comparison to our title rivals like Arsenal and Manchester City, they blow teams away like that. We don't. We pretty much win ugly, if anything, and that's been kind of our thing. And I've been saying that a lot all season. The performance may not have been there, but the result has. And at certain stages of the season, that's okay to have. But the whole premise of that was based on the hope that our performances would gradually get better. Because it's okay winning in those scrappy, ugly ways. And it builds mentality, which I've been praising all season that we've been rebuilding. But eventually that runs out. Winning ugly eventually does run out, and you eventually push your luck one too far, and that's obviously what's happened these past couple of games in the Premier League, especially. Last week against United, we dominated, but we couldn't stick away our chances, and that's where it came back to bite us with United grabbing 2 goals. Yesterday, second half, we had so many opportunities, and we just messed up our lines time and time again. Whether it was Salah, whether it was Diaz, whether it was Nunes, whoever, Curtis Jones, whoever it was just a complete car crash in the final third. Just unbelievable. Just in the final third, just how poor we were. Look, I made reference this morning to Luis Diaz, the speculation surrounding Luis Diaz, 75 million seemingly being what we're asking for, and Darwin Núñez, and I question Núñez's improvement this season, and I know that the improvement is there, and there are things that I love about both of these guys, and I can never question their love, their passion for Liverpool or for football, and I can't question their overall arsenal of what they possess. I can't question the pace. I can't question the flair. I can't question, the overall build-up play. I can't question the technical ability of Luis Diaz. I can't question the team play of Darwin Núñez. I can't question his pace. All of these things that they have, I can't question. But the one thing I can question is their composure in front of goal, because their composure leads to their consistency. And right now, it's all gone. We look like a team that is a bit short of confidence and lacking composure. Right at this crucial stage of the season, we need both of those things. And that is not what I am seeing these past couple of weeks. I'm seeing our team get these chances time and time again, and we're just not taking them. And it came back to bite us last week, and of course, it hurt us yesterday. And I left that Crystal Palace game yesterday. I watched, I obviously seen the game, and I basically said after that game, after the final whistle, season's over. The season is over. That's it. We're done. Dusted. Finished. And then I watched the Arsenal game, and to everybody's shock, Arsenal lost yesterday. They lost by 2-0. Villa were brilliant in the second half. Villa put Arsenal to the sword and gave them a bit of a reality check that I think Arsenal needed themselves. After the Arsenal game, I said there is a glimmer of hope left. We've been given a lifeline by the Aston Villa Arsenal result. But at the same time, it is still an even more bigger kick in the teeth, because if we'd have won that game, and I know that obviously if you want to be sciencey and nerdy about it, there's obviously the ripple effect where something happens, may not still have the same reaction from other teams and other things and stuff. So it may not have been the same kind of results. But let's face it, if we'd have won, and the same thing with Arsenal would have happened yesterday, and they would have still lost, we would have been top of the league and the league would have been back in our hands. And our destiny for this season would have been back within our possession. So it's even more of a bit of a kick in the teeth. It's a lifeline, yes, on one hand, but on the other hand, it's still a big kick in the teeth that we weren't able to get a win. We weren't able to take advantage of what would have happened to Arsenal later on that day with them losing. It's not great. And look, we are 2 points behind Manchester City going into the final 6 games. But as I said this morning, when City are in this kind of position, they don't normally slip up. We have to be there 100%. We have to continue to keep going to the end of the season. We have to push them to the end, as we have done time and time and time again under the reign of Jurgen Klopp. I want to say that we will. But whether or not we catch them or not at this stage is all up to Manchester City. They have an easy run in, and I've said time and time again that they have an easy run in. I've said from the beginning, from the international break that has just been and gone, that they have the easier run in of the 3 teams. Everybody else was saying Liverpool do. I said ridiculous. Man City do, and they have. They have the easier run in, and it's going to be all up to them as to whether or not they make them 2 points, that 2 points advantage pay or not. I think Arsenal, I've got no reason to doubt it was a one-off result yesterday for Arsenal. I've got no reason to doubt that. But I still think, and I've questioned all season about Arsenal's mentality in big games. When the pressure's really on, can they handle it? They didn't last season, and they didn't yesterday. So that's where my question of Arsenal still remains. Can they bounce back? Can they redeem themselves? Can they handle the intensifying pressure that the run-in provides? My question for Man City is, can they get their defence to be watertight again? They are fragile. They are very fragile, and I think this is the most fragile that I've seen this Manchester City backline for a long, long time. But they've still got that Manchester City factor, they've still got the Pep Guardiola factor, and they've still got individual talent that is so phenomenal to watch. They've still got Erling Haaland up front. They've still got Kevin De Bruyne pulling the strings. They've still got Phil Foden dazzling his way through any and every defence that he is up against. They've still got Rodri controlling the midfield. Bernardo Silva and his work rate. So on and so forth. Julian Alvarez waiting in the wings to pounce on an opportunity. They've got so many good players that we've seen them be there, do that time and time and time again, that it probably will happen again this season. And my question for Liverpool is, can they bounce back from this? Can they bounce back from these 2 setbacks that they've suffered this week? Or 3 setbacks if you want to include the Europa League one, and bounce back in the league? Because this is the only thing we've got now. I don't believe we're going to turn around the Europa League tie. This is the only thing we have. Can we keep up the pressure on Manchester City right the way till the end? We've overachieved this season. We have overachieved this season. No one put us in a title race. No one said we'd get this far in challenging Arsenal and Manchester City, but yet here we are being discussed in a title race. I am proud of that. I'm proud with this team, the way that we've managed to combat everything that has gone against us this season, whether it be referee and VAR decisions, or whether it be the massive amount of injuries that we've suffered throughout the whole of this campaign. I'm proud of that. But it's still a bit of a kick in the teeth that we are losing our best manager in the Premier League era, and the only thing he's walking away from is a Carabao Cup. And it sounds spoiled to say, because, you know, it sounds spoiled to say that, oh, you're leaving with 1 trophy, but shouldn't that be enough? If you're a Spurs fan. If you're a Spurs fan, then yeah. But for a Liverpool side that at that time that we won the Carabao Cup was going for the FA Cup as well, was still challenging and heavy favourites for the Europa League, and of course were in the Premier League title race, more seemed to be on the cards, and more probably should have been given to, or not given, but earned by Liverpool this season. And I think we've thrown away the Europa League. Some would probably say we've bottled the Premier League. There might be a bit of an argument for that. But it's just disappointing that we're not getting more from this season. And it's because we're the makers of our own downfall. If it is this, we can sit here and we can go, well, you know, we should have got a penalty in the Arsenal game. We can sit here and go, so-and-so should have been sent off in this game. Lewis Dunk should have been sent off in the Brighton 2-2 draw. We can sit here and say, you know, about all of our VAR decisions. Man City, we should have got a penalty there. And of course, we should sit here and go, Luis Diaz's goal against Tottenham should have stood. Maybe we wouldn't have lost that game. But at the end of the day, I look back at the other results that we've suffered. I look back at the draws against Manchester United. I look back at the draw against Luton. I look back at the draw against Manchester City. Could we have done more and took our chances? The draw against Arsenal, we should have took our chances then as well. And I look back at yesterday's result and I think Crystal Palace, a side that are still getting used to a new manager, a side that have been poor for the majority of this season, and we just threw it away because our defending was poor. Eze had the freedom of the penalty area to pick his spot. The amount of times that we suffer with that, where a ball gets cut back and the guy's got freedom of the penalty area just to himself. Too busy ball watching, not enough defending. And then the amount of chances that we have at the other end and we just can't find the back of the net because we're so inconsistent in front of goal. It's getting ridiculous. It's getting ridiculous. And that's why, like I say, I question whether or not we should cash in on the likes of Luis Diaz and Darwin Núñez and go for a more clinical kind of strikers. I'm looking at Alexander Isak of Newcastle and I'm thinking, this guy is ice cold. What's cooler than being cool? Ice cold! You're telling me that he wouldn't be a perfect fit for Liverpool in this kind of way? I think a lot would depend on the new manager, of course, but Isak is killing it. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Like, I'm just gonna throw that out there. Just throwing that out there. Just throwing the name Alexander Isak out there. That's what I'm doing. I love Darwin Núñez. I love Luis Diaz, and I'm not scapegoating them, but the frustration of the lack of consistency and lack of composure that those two show at times is grinding. Really grinding. But yeah, look, yesterday, dreadful result. Second half performance was there, but Palace allowed us to do that. And they rode their luck at times, and sometimes you do that, but we're the makers of our own downfall, and we're the makers of our own lack of success, I guess you could say. It's frustrating, it's annoying, but that's the way it is. And like I said this morning, like, Manchester City have always been my favourites for the Premier League title. That has never really changed. It has altered in how confident I have been in City. But I've always remained that they will win the Premier League title, and that is what it's proving to be as of right now. I think they will go on and probably clinch the title for the 4th season in a row, meaning that we are putting our hope and faith that they are found guilty of as many of the 115 charges, or all of them as possible, because then all of their achievements get completely voided. So we're hoping for that, of course. But just in case they're not, it looks like Pep Guardiola and Manchester City are possibly on for a 4-peat and maybe even another treble. A treble. Just deep that for a sec. A treble. Something that probably won't ever be matched by another English team. Something that is phenomenal in itself, and something that we're all praying will be voided by them being found heavily guilty of, obviously, these breaches of FFP and whatever else kind of rules that they've also allegedly breached. So, fingers crossed on that. But no, look, in all seriousness, I want to try and be hopeful. I want to try and be optimistic. But if we keep up this kind of level of performance, with our defending that is so casual, and our attack which is so indecisive and lacks a killer instinct, we're of course not going to be able to catch City, and we're of course not going to even put the slightest bit of pressure on City for when it comes towards the end of the season. So yesterday was dreadful result, performance that didn't redeem themselves from what has been a horrific week. It's been a horrific week all around for Liverpool, really. And now we go into the final 6 games of the season with still the Premier League to play for, but it's not within our hands, and we're relying on City dropping points and relying on other teams to help us, which is not necessarily where you want to be. Those are just the thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, of this guy. I want to know what you guys think. What do you make of Liverpool? What do you make of the performance yesterday, the result yesterday, and the Premier League title race as a whole? What do you make of their season and Klopp's final campaign in charge? I'd love to know all of your thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, in the comment section down below. I'm sure it'll make for interesting, great reading. Otherwise, hit the like button on the way out if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you're new or want to see more content like this. Both things are always and very greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch. This has been another Fletch Talks video, and I'll speak with you all again soon in another video or live stream or whatever it may be. Cheers, guys. Thanks for watching. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. Speak to you all again very, very soon.